All right. Welcome to the fourth and final review of the evening. Apologies for any sort of broadcast quality malfunctions or what have you. Petty is going through some issues right now.
Fireworks should be outlawed.
They are, depending on the state. Like, when I lived in Virginia, they were outlawed. Outside of the dinky fireworks. Not like down here in Florida, where I don't think the state has meant a firework it doesn't like. Anyway, putting that aside, our fourth and final game this week is Perfect Dice. Incredibly complex card-based roguelike that challenges you to learn and exploit the nuances of chance, mastering luck itself. So, repeat it with me now. This is a indie roguelike deck builder game. Yep. So, it's another game that's combining a lot of the hottest trends of the indie scene. Now, for all of the creativity that can blossom in this circuit, it's like they're not above following trends. And you can see it's following some other trends here because, it's got the cyberpunk aesthetic and, spoiler alert, the music is synthwave. Like I said, we've encountered this type of game in terms of, overall mechanics, aesthetics, but the thing that makes it stand out, the thing that it staked its claim on, is is that dice. It's not just randomness. No, it's like you use dice for everything. Every move is calculated via dice. Both you and your opponent are ruled by the dice. And in terms of the card system, you are allowed up to 6 cards. And to start with, you have access to 4 dice. 4 dice. And you can unlock up to 10, I believe. And so the key here is the devil's in the details, quite literally. The system here is all about the nuance of the dice and the movements. Both the dice itself, because you start out with a couple of normal dice, dice that are just, they act like dice or a die. But you also get special dice. I believe you start out with the +1 dice, which if you use will allow you to get an extra dice, an extra die during a turn. There's the clone die. I forget what they called it in game, but it's a die that will not necessarily roll, but has an eye that will look at other dice that you have used and will use one of those face numbers. If you put if you rolled a 3 and it's in one of the slots, it'll be a 3. If you've got a 3 and a 4, it will roll either a 3 or a 4. There's the high. I got dice like the high-low dice, which ranged from 4 low to 6 high. And other such gimmicks attached to it. There's the dice that, remember the winning pattern? I wasn't exactly sure what that did. The point is, you get special dice that can do things. and the cards can do things. Not just, you've got attack. Like, you start out with, your most basic cards are attack and defend. And you can do both in a turn. This isn't a turn-based RPG in the sense that you do one thing and one thing only. No, you can do you can do up to however many dice you have, and however many cards. So up to 6 moves per turn, theoretically. Because over to the side here, you can see that's right, the face dice. Every time you use that one, you have to burn a side, and that'll go away. And
what's left if you do that?
The remaining sides, up to.
So it just changes a 6-sided dice into a 5-sided dice,
and then a 4, and then a 3, then a 2, then a 1, and then it resets.
I see.
Yeah, like I said, there's all sorts of things like this, and it's all coordinated to. You see the bar on the left there? That is the action numbers. If you roll a 1, you'll be able to do that. If you roll a 2, you'll be able to do that. If you see the 2 3s, that means you can land on 2 3s. It's not a master number. If you get a 1, any amount of times, X amount of times, because there are some mechanics in other games that would do a thing like that. No, it's however matched. And once again, the opponent is also governed by this, but there's also the energy meter, where every successful roll powers it up till you get to use the special move, which is like locking your power. I wasn't too sure about the finer details of how the power system worked. It did unlock special powers like, a tougher hit. And the other part of the stratagem is in your cards, because you can move to attack, and the turn does end when you hit end turn, not when you attack either. That is worth noting. But it's like, if you want to attack first, you can, but that's generally not a good idea, because a lot of what you get in terms of cards are junctioned to attack, as you'd expect. Like the double feature. That allows you to attack twice, but there's not much point if you've already attacked. For example, and there's like the maximum, I think, increases your attack power. Could be misremembering there. Yeah, and you have like a different card than I did when I started out, Nitro. Yeah, and it's really important to get your defense shield up, because health does not regenerate between battles. So, a lot of this is attrition here. So, the damage, accumulated damage, and so on and so forth. I think there are parts, there are places where you can get healed. Admittedly, I didn't get too far in because I got stuck at a certain enemy who was really powerful and kept doing too much damage for my liking. And I ran out of time for this. Like, Anyway, the ultimate point I'm getting in terms of the cards here is there's a subtle at first, but you'll run up against it quickly. Risk versus reward system. The whole dynamic here is using pushing your dice to how many movements can you successfully make in a turn, because you might be able to get everything else powered up. You got your defense shield up, but you either whiff your roll, or you end up with a dice that will not generate a successful number. This has happened to me both times.
Yeah, I could see you revving up all your boosts and stuff, and then actually go for the swing, and it's a whiff.
And that's where the genius of this game really hits. Because, it's not about the individual pieces. It's about the interlocking metagame here that really makes this game interesting. A lot more interesting than a lot of these games tend to be. Despite whatever features and gimmicks that they tout. Now, personally, what they had on offer isn't to my taste, because I don't like being at the mercy of the RNG. And this game is literally all about the RNG. Also, to the dice heads out there, it's strictly 6-sided dice. There's no D20s, there's no D4s. This isn't a pen and paper role-playing game or anything like that. They kept it simple in terms of actual dice used. Also worth noting, at least everything I see on display here, everything is just a single die to do. There's there doesn't seem to be any advanced cards that require 2 dice. Although, because that's probably a feature that takes a lot of thought in order to make sure it works with the other components.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the core of the game here. Like I said, I've been in a paradoxical state about it. Because, like I said, not my cup of tea, but it's like, this is vastly more interesting than a lot of the roguelike deck builder things that we cover on this program. Simply because it doesn't, its metagame is much more interesting and intricate than a lot of these other things. It's like, a lot of these other indie Who's-Its tend to be actually, at their core, really simple. Not this one. This is starting you out with 5 cards of various things. And you will get additional cards. You will get additional dice. And you have to make choices at what you want to keep.
It's like Yahtzee with guns. So it's like Yahtzee in Texas.
And they've also got a tad of the Shin Megami Tensei, Pokemon, Dragon Quest, Joker, breeding combination thing going on here, but with dice. That is to say, you can take one die and merge it with another die at certain stations, and they will have the traits of the parent, if you will.
So if you have a dice that has 1 in 6 removed.
Yes. Combined with high roll or whatever, it'll have those combined. So it can, it's one of those things that can make dice more useful, or, can absolutely ruin a die.
Mm-hmm. And does it always inherit stuff from the parents?
Honestly, I only tried it once. Like, there didn't seem to be any sort of success-failure ratio like some other games that do this.
Fair enough. Figured I'd ask,
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, like I said, and that's the game. It's one of the better games I've played on, objectively speaking. Like I said, that I don't personally care for.
Mm-hmm.
That's the objective versus the subjective. Like, as interesting and amazing as I find this game conceptually, once again, I don't like whiffing an attack because I rolled a 4.
Mm-hmm. Like, I imagine this is one of those ones, the deeper you get, the more you can mitigate that stuff, but it's still,
Right.
It takes you out of wanting to playing more when it happens early.
Yeah. Especially, like, when the enemy has, like, 5 health.
Mm-hmm.
So
where if you would have rolled anything other than that number, you'd be moving on to the next fight.
Yeah. It's like, once again, that's the point. That's what this game is completely going for. Mm-hmm. It's not, it's not wearing random as quite as much as, say, Lost in Random, where, you put random literally in the title, but it's more subtle about it, by having dice in the title. I like that. Like, anyway, in terms of pricing, this usually clocks in at $9.99. It's currently on sale for $7.99. If you're into the dice game, if you're into the metagame here, absolutely go for it. It's priced appropriately. In fact, I'm kind of surprised it's as cheap as it is. I was expecting this to go for $15, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, this is another one of those games that, honestly, I could probably see, a physical version almost being made out of, if not for the, removing numbers off the dice mechanic.
Right. Well, that and, like, the eye die actually having its eye open and scan.
I mean, you can still do that mechanic, just have another dice roll figure out what one you're selecting. Because it's supposed to be a random flip, isn't it? To what's on screen.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway. But, it's like, if you're looking for something that's in the mold of an actual, of a JRPG, or like a lot of these games tend to be, look elsewhere, because it's not that.
Yeah. I mean,
and like
this would be like a very, very, very classic JRPG, if anything, because a lot of them had those dickish, almost dice roll like mechanics. You just didn't see the dice.
Right. So, and even then, it is weird to say that.
Yeah.
Given that, that is based off of dice rolls, but missing isn't really a thing in a lot of modern RPGs.
Yeah, in modern, you're correct, but in old, like, even going back as, early Final Fantasy, missing was very much a thing that it could happen, and did happen frequently if you weren't geared correctly.
Yep. In fact, missing was a big penalty thing of, one of the subtler things of Final Fantasy 1. Like, if you attacked a monster, it died, and you attacked that space again, you were literally...
Well, that's even... That placement-based missing, which is another thing, but that's a whole separate thing from just... no, it is rolling dice behind... I mean, by late game, your bonuses are so good that it's extremely unlikely you'll miss anything but
Right.
like very
I'm just saying-
powerful enemies. But no, it does. It is rolling dice. You can miss.
Right. No, yeah. Anyway, like I said, like even though I have a personal distaste for the, whiffing mechanics, let's say, I can still respect this.
Again, it's a very old school in its approach.
And yet very modern as well. Ultra modern, and I don't just mean like the cyberpunk stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that can it's easily another 1980s throwback thing here. Anyway, so any other questions, comments, or concerns over Perfect Dice here?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really.
All right. So yeah, that'll about do it for this review session. So coming up on the week ahead, on Wednesday, July 3rd, we'll be welcoming Neil Renison of Tin Man Games. Maybe. I say maybe because he hasn't confirmed.
It's one of those.
I'm getting a bit concerned about that. So, in regards to Tin Man Games, we've actually had this developer on the program under a different name, and that was way back in the TalkShoe era when they were known as Tin Minion Games, and we talked about their adaptation of the Warlock on Firetop Mountain.
Oh, I remember that. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Like I said, they've changed their name, and what we're going to be focusing on here is very much not any sort of adaptation of a board game. They've got others, like they got a Warhammer thing here because of course they do. But we're going to be talking about Neon Squad Tactics, which is it's like a 3-on-3. Yeah, it's a tactical squad game for MetaQuest. So, gonna be interesting if nothing else, provided they show up. And if they don't, we're talking about Bubsy this week. Or rather,
boy.
we're going to be looking at the failed Bubsy pilot.
I will go find some drinking bleach.
It could be worse. You could be playing one of the actual games.
I thought we had rules about partaking in war crimes on air.
We don't.
Oh, shit.
Anyway, no Friday show this week because I did not want to schedule something
between the 4th of July and the weekend.
Especially with the kids, constantly coming up during the weekend.
Plus, who knows? People with fireworks might blow up Petty Fan's entire internet connection.
Yes. Anyway, on that note, until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.